Hey everyone, welcome back to another edition of Outdoor Hospitality Weekly. I'm Alex Burkett, joined as always by Matt Whittemore. And today I think we're going to continue our marketing series here, Matt. I know we spent the last several weeks looking at one of our new marketing initiatives as we get into next year. And really this is something that you've been passionate a lot about is giveaways. And so if you've just finished that 3-part series, this will be a nice little primer and continuing conversation on that topic as we talk about, more marketing in general, separate from running a giveaway, and more just sort of thinking about how, one, we see marketing and how we're beginning to engage with this at the park level.
Yeah, well said, Alex, and appreciate going through all this with you. It's been a lot of fun to work with marketing, or work with you on marketing, and excited for what we're going to discuss today. I think, it's appropriate to take a few steps back and talk about sort of mindset of marketing and what you should do really before you start marketing. We opened this series about giveaways, like you said, which was a little bit out of order, but it was timely because we were doing it. It's the holiday season. But we did a lot of stuff first before we were ready for, ready to do giveaways. And that's what we're going to talk about today is really what should your mindset be as a campground owner or a marketer or really a hospitality purveyor of any sort.
Right.
So yeah, you bring a really interesting perspective to this world. You have very deep marketing experience and expertise. You've been doing it for a lot of years, but you've also had a ton of experience on the ops side. And I think that's so important to talk about is, I was one of these new campground owners and, had some money in my pocket to invest into marketing and just thought, okay, I need to get on the internet and just shout my name as loud as possible and get a bunch of people on site, and the rest will take care of itself. Quickly learned that that's not the right approach, and lucky now to have you as a partner in this marketing endeavor and the ops and everything. And that's what I want to talk to you about today is what should we be doing before we start marketing? What should our mentality be for marketing? How we tie everything together so that marketing results and dollars are not wasted. So yeah, let's start with that. Let's jump in, and we came up with a pretty interesting, I think, title for this episode and just philosophy and kind of mindset to start with. So why don't you jump in and open up with that?
Yeah. As you put, right, in conversations that I've had with park owners doing marketing for dozens of parks across the country, I think one of the common misconceptions probably is the title of this video and why you might have clicked on this in the first place, which is that, marketing is not advertising, and they are not one and the same. I think most of us as probably consumers of marketing on a day-to-day basis probably engage with it mostly on an advertising basis, right? If you're like me and Matt and you're listening to podcasts while you work, you probably get hit with some ads while you're listening to that. Or even if you're somebody who loves watching sports and television and driving down the road and looking at a billboard, right? That's all at its core advertising of some sort. It's a company paying for a spot or a promotion to put their brand in front of you. And to your point about kind of just people know a lot about your park, or you may think that they may know a lot about you. And so that the best way to really market your park to some folks is just to put out an advertisement and just say, hey, people need reminded, they need told about what to do, or they just need kind of set that, hey, we're here, we exist. But I would go so far as to argue that that is oftentimes not the right approach, and where a lot of park owners use that as an excuse and a chance to really cop out and say, I really don't have to think about my messaging. I don't have to think about my brand. I don't have to really understand who's even the type of customer that I'm trying to attract into my business. And that just spending money will result in more revenue coming into your property. And I think, taking this video after we do the last 3 videos that we just put out on giveaway marketing, you might be really deep now in, okay, I want to do one of these giveaways. I just want to put it out there, spend a bunch of money on Instagram ads, do the right tactics and all the right things and make it happen and just see what happens. And I think a lot of people may leave those videos with that feeling. And I think this is kind of my and our warning is you can still do the giveaways and we still want you to engage in that, but that having this conversation and doing the prep work like we did prior to launching into a series like that is incredibly important in trying to understand the type of goals that we had for this campaign or for our marketing strategy in general, the type of customer that we ultimately wanted to attract to that property, and really how it was all going to work after the fact, right? In making sure that we had a contact form in place that worked with our website and our other marketing channels, and that there was stuff in the back end that we were doing to ensure that when customers came in and had a reaction to the videos and the content that we put out there, that we had the back end infrastructure to support that gain in business, right? And if your marketing is done correctly, you should actually be more busy and see an increase in the amount of work that you have that goes into what you're doing, right? That if you think that just putting out advertising is great and that, you know, you're going to get less busy by doing that and that you can basically spend your way out of a marketing problem, that is oftentimes the complete wrong approach. In fact, you'd be better just to sit there and light some money on fire. That in reality, marketing done correctly means you will be much busier trying to service the new customers that come into the business, and that it should actually be fuel and growth for the business. So I would say, as sort of a kickoff to this conversation today, that is something that I think needs to be on everybody's mind is that, look, like, it's not something you can spend your way out of. It's not something that you should cop out or look to put another agency or somebody in place to just run all of your marketing for you with no real clear idea on what you're trying to get out of it or what you're trying to actually do with it. That you actually need to sit down there, spend the time to ensure that the whole thing connects. And we'll talk a little bit more about the types of your operation and how the marketing really begins to intersect with your day-to-day operations.
Love it. Well said. There are really two real life examples that we've learned these lessons. You already knew them. I learned I learned these lessons. I kind of want to touch on those a little bit. The first one was the first campground I purchased, and very special place, covered bridge campsite. You know, that's we touch on that in some of these videos and podcasts. You know, and we're going to be using it as an example. You know, for these kinds of lessons learned and all that. So, bought that campground. It's a very special place with one of a kind, spectacular campsites. It was also a total junkyard, and honestly, kind of a frightening place, with rundown buildings, and it looked deserted in some ways, even though people were actively camping on it. What I promptly did was set up Facebook ads and Instagram ads to a landing page selling seasonal campsites. I think I probably put $25,000 into that whole process between I hired an agency to help me run it, the software fees, and the ad spend. I think all in was probably $25,000 across 12 months. And I think I lucked out because it was a success. You know, we were selling, it was geared towards seasonals. So at the time we were bringing people in that would pay $2,500 to $3,000 for a season. I'm pretty sure we got 10 the first year. So we made all our money back plus a little bit in the first year. And then a bunch of those people are still camping with us 4 years, you know, going on 4 seasons later. So a success. But I think I lucked out in that I needed to do a lot of things better with the property. I think it was partly successful because I was living on site largely. So I was the one receiving the calls and the emails, conducting the tours, selling the campsite, all that. And I have some experience in sales, and it's my property. So obviously I sure as hell wanted to sell those campsites and
right,
get the occupancy going. And so it worked out, but I think I was kind of walking an edge there of, you know, the property needed to be fixed up, the web presence needed to be fixed, the messaging, the sales process, the ops. Like there was a real risk that I was going to have all these people show up and then immediately hate it. And that's
Right.
something we want to touch on with this video is, that's a big risk. You're probably better off not marketing than marketing to a poorly run or a property that's poorly run or in poor condition or is just not ready for the light of day, so to speak. So that's one example where I think we lucked out, but now we've put a bunch of money into fixing it up. We were always doing that, but made some strategic choices on what to fix up. We fixed the web presence to largely, and we're running the whole marketing playbook, which is you're going to see in these videos and podcasts for weeks and probably months to come, because it's a lot of fun, exciting stuff that we're really pretty jazzed up about. The second example is a completely different set of circumstances and a really interesting one in my opinion. At that is a seasonal campground we purchased that was full but had zero web presence. And
Was kind of all on word of mouth, right? The previous
yeah,
owners had filled it and developed the
right,
relationships, right? It was very personal. And to your point, the previous owners, they had a large presence on the campground, ensuring the success of the
right,
business.
right. And it's kind of a conundrum that it's full. Yeah, the rates are really low, and like we paid a pretty penny for the campground, so we have to raise the rates. And we're raising them to rates that we feel are fair for what exists and what the market is. But that creates a lot of you know apprehension and some feelings from the customers, which is totally expected.
Right. And people who had
Um,
a close relationship with the owners who were looking at the changes being made and saying, hold on a moment, things are
right,
different than what I had initially expected or signed
right.
off on.
Yeah, and what's really interesting about that is that as an investor, you look at that campground and you say, "Oh, okay, great. It's a stabilized asset. It's full. All I have to do is raise the rates." But there's zero web presence. And we need new people, to come in at least over time. We're not kicking everybody out. We want to keep, you know, customers and make those people happy and have an awesome fun campground that people want to stay at. Not everybody's going to stay. People don't like change. We want to mitigate that and minimize that as much as possible. But here's the thing is with the zero web presence, it's almost as like we bought a campground that was empty
Right.
because we're starting from zero on the marketing side. Nobody's finding it online. It literally didn't have a website when we bought it. No website. We spun up a website, so we're starting from scratch, from zero on web presence. People aren't finding us because you need to, it takes time to build up the SEO and build up the web presence and all that. So another really interesting example of, the property also needs some help and some fixing up and some programming and some activities. And so we're in this position of like, part of us wants to market, but it's really not the right time to yet because we need to optimize the web presence. We need to plan a bunch of fun programming and activities. And, it's a very simple kind of, I think people get into the technical end of marketing and what are my channels? Oh, tell me all about SEO and tell me all about email marketing and all this stuff. And it's like, hold up, take 10 steps back. Are people having a blast on the property? Are you giving people
So
something that they cannot find somewhere else? That's step one. Go ahead, Alex.
I was going to say it's so critical and something that I think a lot of people don't. You're right. Don't think enough about is, and there's certainly some conflicting opinion on this, but a lot of times one of the ways that as a new owner or even I've been through this is right a new manager coming into the campground same kind of functionality or thought process is look if you're trying to establish those new relationships, and especially if there's a rate increase that's going with that, ensuring that people are having fun mitigates a lot of those issues from the beginning. That people oftentimes can overlook certain rate increases, or at least can begin to justify them in their mind. You're
100%.
essentially from pulling sales language that you're probably familiar with too, Matt, right? Like you're crossing off that objection from the beginning. And if people are like, oh my gosh, my kids are having way more of a blast than they ever did before, like, where do I sign? Where do I write the check? Right? They don't have to worry about moving their unit. The kids and the families are having a great time. It's just one of those things that not only will your turnover be less, but you're also going to begin to create the culture and attract the type of people to the property that you really want, right? If families are having fun every weekend and you've got people coming in for seasonal tours or for overnight stays that are seeing the same thing, like it just creates this energy in the property that functions as a really nice sales tool for you as well. You get overnight campers that go, oh my gosh, my kids had the best time here this weekend. How do we make sure that this happens the entire summer next year? Or are there any open sites left for this season? We just want to stay. The unit's already here. Can we just go put it in a spot and we'll see you back here next Friday night? Right? Just
Yeah.
one of those things that it's an ops problem that, look, if you're right, all of the sort of tactics and strategies and the different ways that you can bring people to the property, that's all very real. And there is a real conversation to be had around that, especially when we're talking about large amounts of money at stake with the marketing that you're trying to do. And to your point, advertising can work and it certainly has its place. But if you weren't there at Covered Bridge or even at the other campground we're talking about, right? If somebody is not there to receive these people and to be prepared for the increase in business, it's almost just as bad, if not worse, right? That's how you get bad negative reviews and people saying, I showed up ready to buy. I was so impressed with the images and the stuff I saw online, and the staff sucked. They were horrible to me. You know, they were mean, or I couldn't even get anybody's attention to go on a tour. This place is awful. You should avoid it at all costs. And that really begins to sour your online image, and it can actually have a reverse effect where you're right, having zero marketing sort of puts you at a neutral reputation where now all these negative experiences came out and you're actually at a worse spot than where you were to begin with, right? You're essentially ensuring that you never get new business anyways. So, you know, one of the things is I've been marketing for people as well that I try and sort of have told people over the years is, look, you're hiring somebody like me or like another agency to come in and understand the tactical parts of marketing that you may not get, right? What channels to use, to make recommendations to you, to essentially be an advisor and clue you in on where your money would be best spent, what are the channels today that are working, and the types of results that you could expect based on a certain amount of spend or a certain scope of work that's in place. That's what you should be paying a marketing person and somebody to kind of come a part of your team and function as that person. But what you also need to be prepared to do as the owner or the manager or the person running the property is to be prepared on the back end. That if I do my job right, and if I can do all of the things that I promised to do for you within that marketing services offering, that you are going to be busier than you've ever been busy before. And you have to ensure that you have the sales collateral, the team in place when people arrive at the property, the type of customer service that needs to work to actually get those people on board, right? That is your job as the owner and the operator to make sure that you can actually close the leads and the people that I'm sending to you as the marketer. Um, to that other end, in addition to sales, we talked a little bit about activities and programming. This is highly underrated in the sense that it really begins to lay out your marketing plan for you over the course of the year if done correctly. Not only does it make your campers happier, and it just creates a place of joy on your campground that, you know, I think we all love in this business is, look, we're here to make hospitable stays for people. We're here to provide fun and an escape oftentimes in a busy time of year during the summer where people do just want to be with fun people and let their kids go have fun and be outdoors. Like that's what camping is about and that's what it's for. And it's something that we can market to as marketers, right? Email campaigns, social content, website content, all of that becomes a hell of a lot easier when you have activities and programming in place. And you don't have to spend a lot of money on it, right? This time of year, especially as we're coming sort of beginning of 2025 and sort of preparing for the beginning of next year in the off season, that's the beauty is you don't have to spend money on any of these activities now. You can wait all the way up until opening day if you'd like to really buy the stuff to actually complete what you've set out to market. But where you can actually market this whole off season and get that revenue in the door now, that you're actually like think about as prepaying for your activities. If you can have an increase in business based on the activities that you're marketing, the activities are going to pay for themselves like that. It's not going to be this conversation of, oh my goodness, how do we pay for this? We're never going to be able to afford this. Like, yeah, there's certainly a level of like understand the type of budget that you're trying to shoot for and what's realistic. You know, don't blow the doors off with holding huge events that you're not going to be able to pay for. But at the same time, it's more important to have the plan of the events and the activities in place and to set those in motion and market them than it is to actually figure out, do I need to go to Dollar General or go to Walmart and purchase the things for the event in the first place? And I think that's another common misconception is people hear that and go, this is going to be a nightmare. And I'm telling you, it's not. If you can provide a list of things to your marketer and they can go and sell the crap out of what you've put in place, then again, everything else begins to fall in place. If I'm confident that we've got a great sales team on staff and that can be your customer service people, and you've got planned activities in place for the next season, my job becomes so much easier and I become so much more confident in my ability to sell the product and the ability to actually close those leads when they come in the door. Again, everything just really starts to work when those two things begin to function well.
Love it. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So I think, to sort of sum that up and to add some commentary,
Please.
I got into this business as a real estate guy and, sort of ashamed to admit it, but like probably had the wrong motivations. I mean, I love the outdoors. I love being outdoors. That was a huge part of what drew me to it. But, I saw it as a good way to make money. I looked at the macro trends of the industry, the demand, and saw a lot of compelling things. And that was one of the primary drivers. And working through all of this with you, Alex, has really, and credit to you and a big thanks to you for helping me refocus my North Star and my mission in this business, which is to show people an awesome time at the campground. And how we tie that into marketing is we then document it. Then take pictures of people having a blast on site. And then we put it in our email marketing, we put it on our social media, we put it on our website. We, incorporate it with the schedule of events for the next year. Hey, we're doing this again. We maybe improved it this way, but look how much fun people had, doing this last year. So that's like, if you want to boil outdoor hospitality marketing down to like one sentence, I would say it's that is show people an awesome time and document it and distribute it. And
yeah.
then,
why would they want to come there in the first place? That's
right.
really it. If you focus everything on what would make you want to say, our family, my people, we have to go here. If you create that feeling, you will be busier than you can imagine.
Right. And then really like step two, really honestly, probably not even step two, but in parallel.
In conjunction. Yep.
Yes. In conjunction, in parallel to that is to tie it all in with your ops.
That's it.
It's all a waste if your property's not ready. First of all, if you don't have the staff in place, if you don't have the training, if you don't have people prepared to receive the inbound traffic that your marketing generates. And then specifically where we see it is sales, especially in the seasonal campsite business.
Right.
So much rides on that initial tour. You put them in your funnel, you get them to schedule a tour, they show up, And if the tour doesn't go well, that's a waste. And then that's somebody out in the market who didn't have a good impression of your property. And that can have a ripple effect. Word of mouth is big in camping.
Right, because
They're
guess
probably
guess what?
already.
Right, and guess what? Those people who are on the tours likely have friends who are also
Exactly.
want to leave the place that they're at.
Right.
There's a reason why people are looking. It could be that they're just new campers, right? So like even more important, like you set that first impression right, you've got a decade long customer. Like
Yep.
those are the best people in my mind. Or even if
Yeah.
they don't like where they're at currently, they probably got 5 other people who are also ready to come with them, friends, family, otherwise from another campground. And
Right.
yeah, that's how I always treat those is like, look, you have the opportunity to not only sell that customer, but every other person that customer comes intact with.
Yep.
Everybody who RVs, who camps, they have other friends and people who camp with them. And that network effect is humongous, to your point.
Yeah. Well said. That was going to be my exact point is they're going to go back to their seasonal campground with all their neighbors, and they were probably like a scout to go check out
Exactly.
a potential new location. They're going to report back and say, nobody was there. It was a ghost town. There's tree limbs everywhere. It's
Or,
tired,
oh my God, we
whatever.
love it. There's
Yeah.
4 other sites next
Yeah.
to us. We can all be
Exactly.
together over here. And you've just sold out, right? Like it could literally be the difference between
Yep.
having a 20% vacancy riding into a season and literally selling your entire property.
Yep.
Just because of good
Yeah.
ops, right? It's so crucial and something that is so understated with
Right.
all of this.
Yeah. And so coming up on time here, but our goal was for this to serve as a primer as we get into kind of all the nuts and bolts and meat and potatoes of marketing. We're going to use Covered Bridge Campsite as a real world example. We're going to share what we're doing as we do it, what our results are, what our lessons learned are. We're going to go through each marketing channel and just, pull back the curtain and show everybody what we're doing because we've got some really exciting stuff in the works. Like back to the comment about like, thank you for helping me get back to my North Star here. Like we've got some really fun, awesome events planned at Covered Bridge. I'm excited to go down there and just be there for it because it's going to be awesome. We're going to do some fly fishing. We're going to get some barbecue. We're going to have breweries. We're going to have hiking groups and foraging and like all kinds of awesome stuff. I'm going to bring my wife. I'm going to bring my kid, Alex. We're going to get some fly fishing lessons together.
I know, I can't wait.
It's just like whatever. Yeah, this is probably going to have an awesome result for the business long term. But like, I'm just excited to go do those things and like, how rewarding is it to see people just having an awesome, memorable time on something that we created? And that's better than money in my opinion. So yeah, I think we got to wrap up here, but that's any final thoughts there, Alex?
Honestly, no, I think you summed it up really well. And I think, as you said, I think we got some feedback from people coming out of this this Instagram giveaway series around a lot of questions being technical, right? And I think that's where a lot of people's mind immediately goes. And this is really the start of a long-term conversation and showing you that actually doing these other things right and bringing that joy and that feeling back to your property of having these great hospitality experiences and outdoor experiences, it also leads to more revenue. That this is not an or equation. I always talk about like there's things that are or things that are and. This is an and equation, right? That your guest, you can have so much fun with this that you're doing and also market the hell out of it and get a lot of great revenue in the door. And that you're going to have way more fun doing it. Your park's going to be full and it's ultimately going to lead to just a much better experience for you and your campers. And so, yeah, this is a great start to that conversation as we head into the new year, and we'll be having lots more to share on this. But think that this is a really great message as we kick off 2025, just to sort of get alignment and focus back around as much for us as it is for you guys around what we're doing, who we're doing it for, and the great work that we're going to get out of this. So excited to continue this conversation and really peel back the curtain and show you guys all that we have going on.